1 year after the hearing, Maya received a new assignment. This time, it came not from the military, but from the diplomatic corps. Ambassador Kyle Bennett wanted to see her personally. The ambassador's office was on the top floor of the Earth Government building, with windows that looked out over the restored forests of what had once been a desert. Maya stood at attention until Bennett waved her toward a chair. "Relax, Sergeant Dawson. This isn't a formal meeting." Sergeant. They had promoted her twice in the past year, though she had done nothing to earn it except become famous. Maya sat but did not relax. Bennett was a thin man with tired eyes and the careful manner of someone who spent his life choosing words the way a surgeon chose cuts. He studied Maya for a long moment before speaking. "Do you know where I was 3 days ago?" "No, sir." "Stasix, the neutral world where the Galactic Council meets. I was presenting humanity's case for full membership in the Council. It's something we've been working toward for decades." Maya nodded. She had heard about the Galactic Council. It was an assembly of the most powerful species in the known galaxy, a place where wars were ended and treaties signed. Humanity had been trying to earn a seat there since first contact. "The vote was expected to fail," Bennett continued. "We're still considered a young species, aggressive and unpredictable. Most council members thought we needed another century of observation before being trusted with real influence. But something changed. You changed it." Bennett smiled slightly. "Or rather, your story did." He touched a control on his desk. A holographic display appeared, showing the council chamber on Stasix. Dozens of alien species sat in tiered rows, their bodies ranging from insectoid to crystalline to forms that hurt the eye to look at. At the center of the chamber stood a single Varth. "This was 3 days ago," Bennett said. "The council was debating our membership application. Most speeches were against us. Then Skethrix asked to testify." Maya watched as the recording played. Skethrix looked older than she remembered, his shell duller and his movements slower. But his voice was still strong as he addressed the council. "I have conquered 30 worlds," he said through his translator. "I have broken empires and scattered civilizations across the void. I do not say this to boast. I say it so you understand that I know war. I know what it means to face a determined enemy." He paused, his compound eyes sweeping across the assembled species. 1 year ago, I led 400 warriors against the human station. We had superior numbers, superior weapons, superior position. By every measure of warfare I have learned in 3 centuries, we should have won easily. We did not win. We retreated. And we retreated because of a single human female who stood before my army and showed me something I had never seen in all my years of conquest. She showed me a predator. Murmuring spread through the council. Skethrix continued. "The Varth are ambush hunters. We strike fast and vanish. We do not chase. We do not persist. But humans are different. They evolved on a world where prey could outrun them, so they learned to follow, to track, to never stop until the hunt was finished, no matter how long it took. This human female understood that about her species. She stood before me and made me see it too. She was not afraid of my army because she knew that even if we won that day, she would spend the rest of her life making us pay for it. Not in anger, not in revenge, just patience. The patient certainty of a predator that never stops hunting." Skethrix turned to face the section of the council where the human delegation sat. "I have faced many enemies. None of them frightened me the way that small human female did. Not because she could defeat me in battle, but because I looked into her eyes and saw something I recognized. Something my species lost long ago. I saw the willingness to sacrifice everything for her people, to burn herself to ashes if it meant keeping them safe. We Varth do not have that anymore. We fight for territory, for resources, for pride. But this human was willing to throw away her entire life just to make us afraid. That is why I am here today, to tell you that humanity has earned their place among us, not because they are strong or wise or peaceful, but because they are the most dangerous species I have ever encountered. And dangerous species deserve a seat at this table where we can watch them. The recording ended. Bennett turned off the display. The council voted in our favor, he said. Full membership, effective immediately. First time in history, a species was admitted on the first application. Maya sat in silence for a moment. She was not sure how to feel about being the reason humanity had joined the galaxy's most powerful political body. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because the council has made a special request. Bennett leaned forward. They want you to serve as a diplomatic escort. Several species have specifically asked for the human who made the Varathron. They want to meet you, observe you, understand what makes you tick. I'm not a diplomat. No, you're something better. You're proof that humanity is not to be taken lightly. Maya considered the offer. She thought about Tommy, about the promise she had made, about the weight she had carried since that day on Kelver Station. She had joined the military to protect humans from the things that hunted them in the dark. This was just another way of doing that. What would I have to do? Attend meetings. Stand beside ambassadors. Let the other species see you up close. Remind them why they voted for us. And if someone threatens our people, Bennett smiled. Then you remind them what happened to the last predator who tried. Maya nodded slowly. When do I leave? Tomorrow. She stood and extended her hand. Bennett shook it, and Maya noticed that his grip was firm despite his thin appearance. He was stronger than he looked. Most diplomats were. There's one more thing, Bennett said as she turned to leave. The Vorath High Command has issued a formal apology for their raids on human colonies. They've agreed to pay reparations and return all biological specimens they collected. Maya stopped. Her heart, which had been steady through the entire meeting, suddenly beat faster. All specimens? All of them, including remains. Bennett's voice was gentle now. There's a file on your terminal, a list of recovered individuals. I'm told your brother's name is on it. Maya stood very still. She did not speak. She could not speak. The words she had whispered to Skethrix a year ago came back to her, and she realized that some promises kept themselves in ways you never expected. She would bring Tommy home. She would give him a proper burial on Earth, in the green forest that had grown back from the desert. And then she would continue doing what she had always done, protecting her people, watching the dark, being the thing that predators feared. Thank you, Ambassador, she finally said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wet. She left the office and walked to the transport station. Tomorrow she would begin her new assignment. Tomorrow she would stand among the powers of the galaxy and remind them what humanity was capable of. But tonight she would read the file. Tonight she would find Tommy's name on the list and know that he was finally coming home. The galaxy was vast and full of predators, but humanity had found its place among them. Not as prey, not as conquerors, as something in between, something that the other species had never seen before. A persistent predator with patience, measured in lifetimes and a memory that never forgot its dead. Maya boarded the transport and watched Earth grow small in the window behind her. She did not smile. She did not celebrate Dot. She simply whispered a single word into the darkness. Soon, and somewhere in the void, the predators of the galaxy felt something they had almost forgotten how to fear. The story of Kelver Station spread through human space within days. The official reports were classified, but stories have a way of escaping. A lone Marine facing down an alien army. A whispered conversation that ended a siege. People talked about it in bars and barracks, adding details that never happened. turning Maya into something more than human. Maya herself returned to regular duty. She requested no special treatment and got none. The military gave her a commendation and a small raise in pay, then assigned her to a garrison post on a quiet moon where nothing ever happened. She thought they wanted to keep her out of sight, away from journalists and curious officers. She was fine with that. 3 months passed. The galaxy kept turning. And then the summons came. The message arrived on Maya's personal terminal at 0600. It was from Admiral Cole, marked urgent and confidential. Report to Earth for testimony before the Strategic Affairs Committee. Transport departing your location at 1400. Attendance mandatory. Maya packed her small bag and caught the transport. She did not ask what the testimony was about. She already knew. The hearing room was cold and formal, filled with high-ranking officers and civilian officials. Maya stood at the entrance for a moment, taking it all in. Long tables arranged in a semicircle, screens on every wall, recording devices, capturing everything. This was not just a military matter anymore. This was politics. Admiral Cole sat at the center of the panel. She nodded at Maya as she approached the witness stand. Corporal Dawson, thank you for coming. Please be seated. Maya sat. She folded her hands in her lap and waited. This hearing has been called to discuss the events at Kelver Station and their implications for human relations with the Varth Collective. Admiral Cole began. As you know, the Varth have not attacked any human installation since that day. Intelligence reports suggest significant internal debate within their command structure. They're scared, one of the other officers said. General Howard Pierce, according to his nameplate. He was older, with gray hair and sharp eyes. For the first time in their history, they encountered something they couldn't conquer by force. They don't know how to respond. Which brings us to the central question, Admiral Cole continued. Corporal Dawson, we need to know what you said to Warlord Skethrix. The strategic implications are enormous. If we can understand why the Varth retreated, we might be able to prevent future conflicts. Maya met the Admiral's eyes. With respect, ma'am, I've already explained why I can't share that information. Circumstances have changed. Admiral Cole touched a control on her panel. 3 days ago, our intelligence service obtained a recording. It's from the Varth High Command, captured during a communications intercept. The screens on the walls flickered to life. Maya saw a dark chamber filled with Varth leaders, their shells gleaming in low light. At the center of the gathering stood a figure she recognized. Skethrix. The recording played. Maya watched as Skethrix addressed his superiors, his mandibles clicking rapidly while a translation scrolled across the bottom of the screen. The humans are not what we believed, Skethrix said. His voice was different from before, lower, heavier. We thought them weak prey, easy to capture and study. We were wrong. An older Varth, even larger than Skethrix, responded with clear anger. You withdrew from a battle you were winning. You abandoned a strategic position without a single warrior lost in combat. Explain yourself. I encountered a human female, small, unarmed, alone, and this caused you to retreat? She killed 2 of my warriors with her bare hands in less than 3 heartbeats. She moved faster than any creature I have seen in 300 years of war. And then she stood before me as if nothing had happened. Murmuring spread through the Varth assembly. Skethrix continued. I demanded to know what she was. She told me she was what humans become when they have nothing left to lose. Then she asked to speak with me privately. And you agreed? I was curious. I have conquered 30 worlds. I have broken species that span galaxies. I wanted to know what this small creature could possibly say that she thought would matter. The recording paused. Admiral Cole looked at Maya. The next part is the reason we called you here, Corporal. She touched the control again. The recording resumed. Skethrix's voice was quieter now. She told me about her brother, a young human male, killed in one of our raids 5 years ago. She said she had spent every day since then preparing for the moment when she would face the Varth. A vengeance seeker, the older Varth said dismissively. We have encountered such creatures before. They are emotional, impulsive, easy to manipulate. No. Skethrix shook his massive head. She was not seeking vengeance. She was making me an offer. What offer? She said if we touched anyone on the station, she would let us win. She would not fight us there. She would let us take the station and everyone in it. Confusion rippled through the assembly. That makes no sense. She was there to protect them. You do not understand. Skethrix's voice dropped to something close to a whisper. She said if we hurt any of her people, she would spend the rest of her life hunting us. She would learn our worlds, our families, our spawning grounds. She would find our children. And she would take from us everything we had ever taken from humanity, multiplied by every human we had ever harmed. Silence in the recording. Silence in the hearing room. This is an empty threat, the older Vorith finally said. One human cannot harm our entire species. I looked into her eyes when she said it. Skethrix's voice cracked. There was nothing there. No anger. No hatred. No fear. Just certainty. She was not threatening me. She was telling me what would happen. As calmly as I might describe the color of the sky. You believe she could do this? I believe she would die trying. And I believe that before she died, she would hurt us in ways we cannot imagine. Humans are persistent predators. They do not stop. They do not give up. And this one has nothing left to lose except our promise. So you ran. I made a tactical decision. The station was not worth the cost of what would follow. There will be other targets, other prey, but there will only be one human who looked at 400 Varth warriors and saw nothing worth fearing. The recording ended. The screens went dark. The hearing room was silent for a long time. Maya sat perfectly still, her face revealing nothing. Around her, officers and officials exchanged uncomfortable glances. Admiral Cole spoke first. Corporal Dawson, is this account accurate? Yes, ma'am. You threatened to hunt down the Varth and kill their children? Maya considered the question carefully before answering. I told Skethrix what would happen if he hurt my people. I was specific about what I would do and how I would do it. I did not make threats. I stated facts. You would actually do this? Hunt an entire species? I would do whatever was necessary to protect humans from predators who see us as prey. If that means spending my life making them afraid to touch us, then yes, I would do that. General Pierce leaned forward. That's not war, Corporal. That's terrorism. Maya turned to look at him. Her eyes were calm, steady, utterly without apology. The Varth have killed thousands of humans over the past decade. They take us alive when they can to study our biology. They dissect children to understand how human brains develop. My brother was 12 years old when they took him. She paused, letting the words sink in. I did not start this war, General. The Varth did. I simply made them understand that some prey bites back, and some prey never stops hunting. The room was quiet. Maya continued. You want to know why Skethrix retreated? Because for the first time in his life, he met a human who was more predator than he was. He looked into my eyes and saw something that terrified him. Not strength, not weapons, just patience. The patience of a species that evolved to chase things until they died. Admiral Cole nodded slowly. Thank you, Corporal. I think we understand now. Maya stood. Permission to speak freely, ma'am. Granted. The Varth are scared of us now. All of them. The story of what happened at Kelver has spread through their entire civilization. They don't know if I'm unique or if every human is like me. They're afraid to find out. She looked around the room, meeting each pair of eyes in turn. That fear is worth more than any weapon you could build. Don't waste it. Let them wonder. Let them imagine what happens if they attack us again. Fear is the only language predators understand. She turned and walked toward the door. No one stopped her. No one said a word. Behind her, the most powerful humans in the galaxy sat in silence, thinking about the small woman who had made an empire tremble with nothing but a whisper. The human fleet arrived 6 hours later. Admiral Patricia Cole stood on the bridge of the carrier steadfast and watched the sensor readings with confusion on her face. The distress signal had described an overwhelming Vorath attack. She had prepared for a rescue mission, possibly a recovery operation for bodies. She had not prepared to find everyone alive. The station reports no casualties among civilians, her communications officer said. 9 Marines killed in the initial assault. 3 survivors. The Vorath withdrew before our arrival. Withdrew? Admiral Cole repeated. 400 warriors just decided to leave? According to the station commander, yes. He says one of his Marines convinced them to go. Convinced them how? The communications officer shrugged. He didn't say. He requested a medical team and a full debrief with intelligence officers. That's all. Admiral Cole ordered her ship toward the station. Something strange had happened here, and she intended to find out what Maya was sitting in the infirmary when the Admiral's people arrived. The medical officers had insisted on checking her, even though she kept telling them she was fine. She had a few bruises from the fighting in the West Corridor, but nothing serious. The real wounds were inside, where no scanner could reach. A young lieutenant approached her bed with a datapad in hand. Corporal Dawson? The Admiral wants to see you. Maya nodded and followed him. She walked through the corridors she had run through just hours ago, past the scorch marks and bloodstains that no one had cleaned up yet. The station felt different now, quieter, like it was holding its breath. Admiral Cole was waiting in the conference room with 2 intelligence officers. They all stood when Maya entered, which surprised her. Officers did not usually stand for corporals. "Sit down, Corporal," the Admiral said. Her voice was kind but curious. "I've read Commander Lane's initial report. I have to say, it raises more questions than it answers." Maya sat. She folded her hands on the table and waited. "According to the report, you walked into a room with over 400 Vorath warriors and convinced their warlord to withdraw. Is that accurate?" "Yes, ma'am." "How did you do that?" Maya thought about the question for a long moment before answering. "I talked to him." "You talked to him," Admiral Cole repeated. She leaned forward, studying Maya's face. "Corporal, the Vorath don't negotiate. They don't retreat. They've never withdrawn from an engagement they were winning. What did you say that made them leave?" "That's between me and the warlord." One of the intelligence officers frowned. "Corporal, this is a military debriefing. You're required to provide a full account of your actions." Maya looked at him calmly. "With respect, sir, what I said to the warlord was personal. It had nothing to do with military strategy or classified information. It was just words. Words that made an entire Vorath army run away," the officer pressed. "The strategic value of that information is enormous. If we could replicate what you did, you can't." The room went quiet. Maya realized she had interrupted an officer, which was against protocol. She did not apologize. "What I said to Skethrix worked because of who I am and what I've been through. It wasn't a trick or a tactic. It was the truth. And the truth is not something you can teach other people to use." Admiral Cole held up a hand to silence the intelligence officer. "Corporal, I'm not going to force you to reveal something you consider personal. But I need to understand what we're dealing with here. Can you at least tell me why the Vorath responded the way they did? Maya closed her eyes. She thought about her childhood on Earth, the years she spent learning to survive in places where survival was not expected. She thought about the military psychologists who had poked and prodded her mind, trying to understand why she was different. I grew up in Chicago, she said finally. Not the nice parts. My parents died when I was 8. Car accident. I went into foster care, but I didn't stay there long. By the time I was 12, I was living on the streets. The officers listened in silence. Maya continued. When you're a kid on the streets, you learn things. You learn how to spot danger before it reaches you. You learn how to make yourself invisible. And you learn that sometimes the best way to survive isn't to run or fight. It's to stand still and let the danger see you. Really see you. I don't understand, one of the intelligence officers said. Predators expect prey to act like prey. They expect fear, panic, running. When you don't give them that, it confuses them. They don't know what to do with something that isn't afraid. And in that confusion, you have power. Admiral Cole nodded slowly. So you use psychology against them. You showed them something they didn't expect. It's more than that. Maya opened her eyes. The Vorath study their targets. They knew humans are social creatures who panic when isolated. They expected me to beg for help or try to run back to my people. When I didn't, when I just stood there looking at them, their whole picture of what humans are started to crack. But standing still wouldn't be enough to make them leave, the Admiral pointed out. Something else happened. Something changed Skethric's mind. Maya was quiet for a long time. The memories she needed to share were not easy ones. They were buried deep, locked away in the parts of her mind that she rarely visited. My brother was killed in a Vorath raid 5 years ago. His name was Tommy. He was 12 years old. They hit a civilian transport he was traveling on, killed everyone aboard, and took the bodies for study. We never recovered him. The room was very still. Maya continued in the same calm voice she always used. After Tommy died, I changed. The military psychologists called it emotional flattening. Under normal circumstances, I function like anyone else. But under extreme stress, something in my brain switches off the fear response. I don't panic. I don't freeze. I just become very, very focused. Like what happened in the cargo bay, Admiral Cole said. Yes, when those 2 warriors tried to grab me, I didn't think about what to do. My body just did it. Years of training took over, and by the time my conscious mind caught up, they were already down. Captain Dale Griffin, one of the intelligence officers, said, reading from his datapad, "Your training officer. His evaluations describe you as the most naturally talented close combat specialist he ever worked with. He also noted concerns about your psychological profile." Maya almost smiled. Captain Griffin once told me I was either the most dangerous soldier he'd ever trained or the most broken person he'd ever met. He said he couldn't decide which. Which is it? Admiral Cole asked. Both. They're not different things. The broken parts of me are what make me dangerous. When you've lost everything that matters, you stop being afraid of losing anything else. And that makes you unpredictable to creatures that rely on fear to control their prey. Admiral Cole sat back in her chair. She was starting to understand. Maya could see it in her eyes. But understanding wasn't the same as knowing the whole truth. The Vorath are predators, Maya continued. But they're ambush predators. They strike fast, overwhelm their target, and move on. They've never faced anything like humans before. We're persistence predators. We evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We don't give up. We don't stop. Even when we're outmatched, we keep coming. And you told Skethrix this? I showed him. In the way I stood, the way I moved, the way I looked at him. And then I told him what would happen if he didn't leave. What did you tell him? The question came from all three officers at once. Maya looked at each of them in turn. Then she shook her head. I can't tell you. Not because I'm being difficult. Because some things lose their power when you speak them to the wrong people. What I told Skethrix was meant for him alone. It was about what I would do if he hurt anyone on this station. It was personal and specific and true. And it scared a 300-year-old warlord badly enough to make him retreat, Admiral Cole said quietly. Yes, the Admiral was silent for a long moment. Then she stood and extended her hand. Thank you, Corporal Dawson. Whatever you said, whatever you did, you saved 200 lives today. The questions can wait. Right now, you should rest. Maya shook the Admiral's hand and left the conference room. She walked back through the quiet corridors toward the barracks. Passing crews that were already starting repairs on the damaged sections she thought about Tommy as she walked. About the promise she had made to herself the day she learned he was gone. About the Varth who had taken him, and what she had sworn to do if she ever faced them again. The promise was still there, burning quietly in the part of her that never went completely dark. Today she had kept it. Today she had protected the people the Varth wanted to hurt, but she knew this was not over. Somewhere out there, Skethrix was thinking about what she had said, thinking about whether she had been bluffing. He would learn soon enough that Maya Dawson did not bluff. She did not make threats. She made promises, and she always kept them. The silence lasted for 10 heartbeats. Maya counted them, using the rhythm to keep herself centered. Around her, 400 Vorith warriors stood frozen in confusion. They had been ready for battle, ready for surrender, ready for begging and crying, and all the things prey species did when cornered. They were not ready for a small human woman who simply stood and stared. The scarred leader stepped forward. He was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, with a shell that had turned dark gray with age. His mandibles clicked together as he studied Maya like she was a puzzle he could not solve. A smaller Vorith moved to stand beside him. This one was younger, with lighter coloring and a device strapped to his throat that Maya recognized as a translator unit. When he spoke, the device turned his clicking sounds into words. I am Chiktal, voice for the great warlord Skethrix. You stand before the conqueror of 30 worlds, the crusher of the Melix Confederation, the terror of the outer reaches. Speak your surrender, human, and make it quick. Maya did not speak. She simply looked at Skethrix, meeting those alien eyes without flinching. The seconds stretched into a minute. Then another. Skethrix made a sound that might have been laughter. His mandibles spread wide, showing the sharp inner teeth that Vorith used to tear apart their food. He spoke to Chiktal, who translated. The warlord says you are either very brave or very stupid. He says prey does not stand silent before predators. He asks what game you play. No game, Maya said. Her voice was calm and steady. I am here to speak to the warlord directly, not to surrender. To talk. More clicking laughter from the assembled warriors. Chikdal looked almost amused as he translated Skethrix's response. The warlord says there is nothing to talk about. You have lost. Your defenders are dead. Your station is ours. The only question is whether you die quickly or slowly. The warlord is wrong. The laughter stopped. Maya felt the change in the room like a shift in temperature. Vorith warriors tensed their bodies, ready to strike at a single command. Skethrix tilted his massive head, his compound eyes narrowing. I am not here to surrender, Maya continued. I am here to give the Vorith one chance to leave. Take your warriors and go. Return to your space. Never attack humans again. This is my offer. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Skethrix threw back his head and made a sound that shook the walls. It was deep, rhythmic, unmistakably laughter. All around him, His warriors joined in, filling the cargo bay with a terrible clicking chorus. Chaiktal was still laughing when he translated. The warlord says you are the funniest thing he has seen in 100 years. One small female, unarmed, threatening an army. He says he will keep you alive, just to hear more of your jokes. Maya waited for the laughter to die down. It took a while. When the room was finally quiet again, she spoke. I understand. The warlord thinks I am weak because I am small. He thinks humans are weak because we are soft and warm. He has conquered 30 worlds, so he believes he knows what prey looks like. But the warlord has never faced humans before. Not really. We have studied your kind, Chaiktal replied for Skethrix. You are not impressive. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. You cannot even survive in vacuum without machines. The Varth are superior in every way. Then, you have nothing to fear from me. Let me speak to the warlord alone. Just words. If I cannot convince him, you can do whatever you want with me and everyone else on this station. Skethrix studied her for a long moment. Maya could not read Vorith expressions, but she thought she saw curiosity in the way his antennae moved. Finally, he gestured with one massive claw. 2 warriors stepped forward. Reaching for Maya. She moved. It was not planned. It was not conscious. It was simply what happened when something tried to grab her. Her body reacted before her mind could catch up. The first warrior reached out, and Maya ducked under his arm, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. She used his own weight against him, pulling him off balance while her other hand found the gap in his neck armor. Her fingers pressed into the soft tissue there, finding the nerve cluster that Varth biology kept in the same place as human throats kept their windpipes. The warrior collapsed. The second warrior swung a blade at her head. Maya stepped inside his reach, too close for the blade to do damage, and drove her palm into the joint between his head and thorax. The shell cracked. He fell. 3 seconds. Maybe less. Maya stepped back to her original position and waited. Her breathing was steady. Her hands did not shake. The cargo bay was silent again. The warriors who had been moving toward her stopped in their tracks. Skethrix stood perfectly still, his antennae pressed flat against his skull. Chaiktal's voice was different now when he translated. The amusement was gone. The warlord asks how you did that. He has seen humans fight before. They do not move like that. Most humans are not like me, Maya said. And I did not come here to fight. I came here to talk. Those 2 tried to grab me. I stopped them. If no one else tries to grab me, I will not stop anyone else. Skethrix took a step backward. It was small, almost invisible, but man noticed it. The most powerful Vorith in the room had just retreated from her. The warriors noticed too. She could see their bodies shifting, uncertainty spreading through their ranks like a disease. What are you? Chaiktal asked. The translator made his voice flat, but Maya could hear the real question underneath. Not what species. What kind of creature? I am what humans become when we have nothing left to lose. She stepped forward. The warriors around her tensed but did not move. She walked through them like they were statues, heading straight for Skethrix. He did not retreat again, but she could see him fighting the urge. She stopped 10 feet away from him, close enough to see the details of his scars. I want to tell you something, she said. Something important. Something that will change what happens next. But I will only say it once, and I will only say it to you. No translators. No witnesses. Just the warlord and me. Skethrix's mandibles clicked rapidly. He was thinking, calculating, trying to understand what he was facing. Maya knew the feeling. She had faced it many times, staring at problems that seemed impossible. The difference was that she had learned something the Varth had not. Some problems could not be solved with strength. Some problems could only be solved with patience. The warlord made his decision. He gestured for Chaiktal to step back. The translator hesitated, then obeyed. The warriors around them shifted to give more space. Maya walked closer. She stopped when she was within arm's reach of the ancient warlord, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his massive body. She looked up at those compound eyes and saw something she recognized. Fear. She leaned in close enough that her lips were almost touching the smooth shell where his ears would be. She whispered. The words took only a few seconds. When she was done, she stepped back and returned to her waiting position in the center of the cargo bay. Skethrix did not move. His antennae trembled. His mandibles hung slightly open. For a long moment, he looked like a statue carved from dark stone. Then he turned to his warriors and began clicking orders. The sounds were rapid, urgent, completely unlike the confident commands he had given before. The warriors hesitated. Some of them clicked back, questioning. Skethrix roared, a sound so loud it hurt Maya's ears, and repeated his orders. The Vorath began to leave. All of them. They moved toward the breaches in the hull, toward their boarding pods, toward their ships. They did not look at Maya. They did not take any prisoners. They simply left. Chaiktal was the last to go. He paused at the edge of the breach, turning to look at Maya with something that might have been wonder or horror. "What did you say to him?" He asked. Maya did not answer. She just watched as the translator turned and followed his warlord into the dock. 15 minutes later, the Vorath ships jumped away. The siege of Kelver Station was over. In the security room, deep inside the station, Dr. Nora Webb stared at the screen showing the empty cargo bay. She rewound the footage and watched Maya's lips move as she whispered to Skethrix. She played it again and again, trying to read the words. She could not make them out. What did she say? Commander Lane asked from his stretcher. His wound was bandaged, but he was too weak to stand. Doctor. Webb shook her head slowly. I don't know. I have no idea what she said to make them leave. In the cargo bay, Maya sat down on the cold metal floor. She was alone now. The fear she had pushed away finally caught up with her, and her hands began to shake. She pressed them against her knees and closed her eyes. She had done what she came to do. Everyone was safe, but the words she had whispered to Skethrix would stay with her forever. Some things once said could never be taken back. The alarm screamed through Kelver Station at 3 in the morning. Maya Dawson was already awake. She had been cleaning her rifle in the barracks when the first explosion shook the walls. She grabbed her gear and ran toward the command center without waiting for orders. The station was a small research outpost on the edge of human space. It held 200 people, mostly scientists and their families. The security team was just 12 Marines, and Maya was the youngest among them. She had served 6 years, but had never seen real combat. The others sometimes forgot she was even there. She was quiet, small, and kept to herself. She liked it that way. Commander Victor Lane was shouting orders when Maya reached the command center. The screens showed chaos. Ships surrounded the station, and boarding pods were already cutting through the outer hull. The attackers were Vorath, an insectoid species that had raided human colonies before. They stood 7 feet tall, with hard shells and sharp mandibles. Their intelligence reports said they liked to capture live specimens for study. They came out of nowhere, Dr. Nora Webb said. She was the lead researcher on the station, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and steady hands. But her hands were not steady now. The sensors didn't pick them up until they were right on top of us. How many? Commander Lane asked. Over 400 warriors, the sensor officer replied. Maybe more on the ships. Maya watched the screens in silence. 400 against 12. The math was simple. The math was death. The first contact came in the East Corridor. Maya listened to the radio chatter as her fellow Marines engaged the enemy. The sounds of gunfire mixed with screaming, both human and alien. Then the screaming stopped, and only the alien sounds remained. "East team is down," someone reported. "All 4 of them." Commander Lane sent the next team to reinforce the west corridor. Maya went with them. She ran through the metal hallways with her rifle ready, her heart beating fast but her mind staying calm. She had always been like this. When things got bad, something inside her went quiet instead of loud. The west corridor was already a battlefield when they arrived. Vorath warriors poured through a breach in the hull, their bodies moving fast despite their size. Maya took cover behind a support beam and started shooting. Her rifle cracked again and again. She saw 2 Vorath fall before they even knew where she was hiding, but there were too many. Private Danny Marsh went down with a Vorath blade in his chest. Corporal Haley Price tried to drag him to safety and took a shot to the head. Maya kept firing, but for every Vorath she killed, 3 more came through the breach. "Fall back," Commander Lane ordered through the radio. "Everyone fall back to the central hub." Maya ran. She hated running, but she knew when a fight was lost. The smart thing was to live and find another way to win. By the time she reached the central hub, only 3 Marines remained. Commander Lane had a deep wound in his side, and he was leaning against the wall to stay upright. The other survivor was Sergeant Paul Carter, a big man with blood on his face that was not his own. "That's it," Sergeant Carter said. "That's everyone." The civilians had gathered in the emergency shelters deeper in the station. 200 people hiding behind blast doors that would not hold forever. The Vorath were already cutting through the outer defenses. It was only a matter of time. "Communications?" Commander Lane asked. "Jammed," Dr. Webb replied. She had followed them from the command center. "We sent a distress signal before they blocked us, but the nearest fleet is 18 hours away." 18 hours. They had maybe 2. The Vorath broadcast came through all the speakers in the station. The voice was strange, filtered through a translator that made it sound almost human, but not quite. "Humans of this station, you are surrounded. Your defenders are dead or dying. Surrender yourselves, and you will be treated as valuable specimens. Resist, and you will be exterminated. You have 1 hour to decide." Commander Lane closed his eyes. Maya could see him thinking, calculating, trying to find a way out that did not exist. "We need to buy time," he said finally. 18 hours is impossible, but maybe we can stretch it. Negotiate. Delay. Anything to give the fleet a chance to get closer. "They don't want to negotiate," Sergeant Carter said. "They want us in cages. Then we make them think we're willing to talk. Someone goes to the front airlock, faces them, pretends we're considering surrender. It won't last long, but every minute counts." No one volunteered. Maya understood why. Whoever went would be standing alone in front of 400 alien warriors. Even if the Vorath let them talk, there was no coming back from that. It was a death sentence dressed up as a mission. Maya thought about the civilians in the shelters. She thought about the children she had seen playing in the recreation room just yesterday. She thought about her brother, who had died 5 years ago in a Vorath raid on a different station. He had been 12 years old. She had never found his body. "I'll go," she said. Everyone looked at her. Commander Lane frowned. "Dawson, you don't have to do this. Someone has to. And I'm the one no one will miss." It was not self-pity. It was just truth. Maya had no family left. No close friends on the station. If someone was going to die buying time, it made sense for it to be her. Dr. Webb grabbed her arm. "What will you even say to them?" Maya looked at the older woman for a long moment. She thought about the question carefully before she answered. "Whatever I have to." She walked toward the front airlock alone. Her footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. Behind her, She heard Sergeant Carter saying something about brave and stupid being the same thing. She did not disagree. The airlock door stood before her, thick metal separating the station from the enemy. She could hear them on the other side, the clicking and chittering of hundreds of Vorth waiting for their prey to surrender. She checked her rifle one more time, then decided to leave it on the ground. She would not need it for what she had planned. Maya took a deep breath. The fear was there, somewhere deep inside her, but it felt far away, like it belonged to someone else. The calm was closer. The calm was all she needed. She pressed the button to open the airlock. The door slid apart, and she stepped through into the cargo bay that the Vorth had claimed as their staging ground. The light was different here, a sickly yellow that came from the alien equipment they had brought with them. The air smelled wrong, like chemicals and something organic she could not name. 400 Vorth warriors turned to look at her. They were everywhere, covering the floor and climbing the walls, their compound eyes reflecting the yellow light. In the center of the room stood the largest Vorth she had ever seen, covered in old scars and wearing armor made from the bones of other species. Their leader Maya did not raise a weapon. She did not beg. She did not run. She simply stood there, looked at the army before her, and waited. The Vorth fell silent. They had expected many things from the humans. They had not expected this.